There's almost always a reason to at least get a little bit excited when a new MacBook comes out, and this year is no different. In fact, I can guarantee you that a lot more people are going to be a lot more excited about this guy, the brand new 14-inch MacBook Pro. And that's because Apple has finally started listening to their customers again, and they have given us a lot of things that they took away in previous years. So I'm going to unbox this guy right now, and I'm super excited for this because I really want to see what this thing looks like in person. So let's open it up. Wow, this thing is great. That didn't work at all. Boom, there we go. Pop that over to the side. Whoa, this thing's a lot heavier. Holy. Oh, we got the embossed, flip that around for you. We've got an embossed MacBook Pro logo here now. That's pretty cool. And it actually has feet. Like big, thick feet that keep it off the ground. That's interesting as well. Also inside the box this year, you get MagSafe. This is a USB-C to MagSafe connector, and I'm so glad that they finally brought this back. We also get some documentation. I believe there's some Apple stickers in there, and we get a 67-watt USB-C power brick. You will get a bigger one if you get an upgraded version of the MacBook Pro, but this here is the base model, so I don't have the bigger one. All right, let's get a better look at Mr. MacBook. Pop it open. Oh, those speakers sound good. So right off the bat here, I'm gonna tell you that this screen looks incredible. And I know I'm only on the startup screen here where it says hello, but I can tell you right now that this is one of the better laptop screens I've seen in my life. And one of the big standout features of this new 14-inch MacBook Pro is that it's a mini LED 120 hertz display. So another thing you're gonna notice with this display is that notch. And I have so much to say about this thing. So here's the thing about the notch, right? When I first saw this in the keynote, in the Apple keynote, I freaked out like pretty much everybody else. Notches just don't look good on laptops. That is my own personal opinion. Seeing it in person does not change that opinion. Notches just don't look good on laptops. Here's the thing though. If that thing at the top was just a thicker bar and it didn't have a notch and we didn't get that screen real estate up in the corners, would that be better? I don't think so. I mean, it might look a little aesthetically better, but in terms of functionality, the menu bar, all the icons up in the top right-hand corner are gonna be pushed up into the corner, and you're gonna get more screen real estate, which is actually good. But it's so weird that Apple is actually prioritizing function over form. Like, it's almost a distinctly Apple thing not to do that, to do the complete opposite. There is something to be said about the fact that there's no Face ID here though. Given that this notch is so big, they absolutely probably should have put Face ID in here. Another pretty big change they've made here is with the keyboard. Gone is the touch bar of old. And I'm actually totally okay with this, because to be completely honest with you, as cool as it looked, the touch bar was a gimmick and it provided very little in the way of actual convenience. To the point where it was actually inconvenient a lot of the times because you don't get physical function keys. And I really do like physical function keys. So those are back. That's great. The keyboard is also now outlined in this matte black frame, which I think looks really cool. It looks distinctive, it's new, it's different. Cool. I'll tell you guys another thing too. This MacBook is quite heavy. I noticed it instantly when I picked up the box, but this thing is quite a bit heavier and thicker than it has been in the past, which again is going against what Apple has done in the past 5 or 6 years. And I'm all for it. I mean, honestly, looking at this laptop now, it almost feels like I'm being transported back to the 2013 to 2015 era Retina MacBook Pros, which were some of my favorite MacBook Pros ever made. And I realize that sounds like a bad thing at first. Like, are you saying this looks like a laptop from 2013? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is, those laptops from that era were really, really good because they had tons of ports. They were thicker, so they didn't thermal throttle as much. And I know a lot of people that still hang on to their 2013 to 2015 MacBooks because they were just honestly better. And that's how I feel with this new 14-inch MacBook Pro. I feel like they've gone back to basics. They've given us what we want. For example, MagSafe is back. You've got Thunderbolt 4 ports, a headphone jack. On the other side, there's an SD card slot, a HDMI port, and another Thunderbolt 4 port. And that kind of port selection is great. I wish that they stuck a USB-A port in here just because this laptop is thick anyway, and I feel like they could have. I realize it's kind of a legacy port now, but I still have a lot of peripherals that use USB-A. For example, my Logitech mice all use those little 2.4 gigahertz dongles that plug into USB-A. So if I want to use that, I'll still have to plug in a dongle to one of the Thunderbolt 4 ports. It's fine that it's not here. I would have liked to see it, but it's not the end all be all. Okay, so immediately the first thing I notice when we boot into Mac OS here is that the menu bar is like a few pixels wider than the notch. So like I mentioned in the beginning, this is a beautiful screen. It's very sharp. Let's just go have a look at what resolution this is exactly. It is a 3024 by 1964 Retina display, and it uses mini LED technology, and I can already tell that this is a 120 Hz display because it's super fast, very responsive, and I really want to play a game on this as soon as I possibly can. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is like download League of Legends. This keyboard feels really good too. I mean, it's probably the exact same one that was in the M1 MacBook Air that came out last year, but they're not going back to the butterfly keyboard, which is great because honestly, the butterfly keyboard, some people like the typing experience of it. I personally did not, but beyond that, it had all kinds of issues. So I'm really happy that they continued with the scissor switch mechanism of the M1 MacBook Air. Another huge upgrade for these Macs this year is the new CPUs. So there's an M1 Pro and an M1 Max. I have the base model, so I have the M1 Pro with the 8-core CPU and 14-core GPU, but you can also get an M1 Pro with a 10-core CPU and 16-core GPU, and then the Max is even more than that. Like, it goes up and up and up. And I think Apple has actually done a great job with giving us plenty of options to choose from this year, which is it's great. First thing I want to try though is benchmarking with a good old Geekbench 5. Now I realize this is a synthetic benchmark. It doesn't really mean a whole lot, but I want to try it anyway because it is a good little baseline thing to do first. Let's run a CPU benchmark on Apple Silicon and see what results we get. All of these MacBooks start at 16 gigs of RAM, which is fantastic because anyone that buys a Pro labeled laptop should at least have 16 gigs of RAM. Not hearing any fans whatsoever kicking in yet, which is a good thing in terms of, you know, wanting to keep the thing quiet, but hopefully it's not doing that at the expense of performance. I do expect with this thicker frame for it to be more efficient when it comes to cooling this chip, but we'll just have to see. So we got a score of 1767 in single core and 9844 in multi-core, which is almost 10 grand on multi-core. That's actually very impressive for a little 14-inch MacBook like this. All right, let's test out the speakers. What do we listen to? What do people listen to these days? Yeah, they sound really good actually. So overall first impressions of this 14-inch MacBook Pro are very positive. I love the direction that Apple is moving in here with these new MacBooks. It really feels like they're listening to customers again. And I feel like they've kind of lost their way a little bit over the past, well, honestly, ever since 2016 when it comes to MacBook Pros. They've given us HDMI back, the SD card slot, MagSafe, something that I've loved for years and wished they would bring back. And just the fact that they're willing to forego a little bit of that aesthetic charm that Apple tries to bring to all of their products to give us better functionality, to give us a better laptop to use overall. I love that. I absolutely love that. And I wish that they would continue moving in that direction with the rest of their products, like getting rid of the Lightning port in place of USB-C, because they clearly like USB-C. It's on every product except for like AirPods Max and the iPhone, so give us USB-C on the iPhone. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but what I'm trying to say is I'm really loving the direction Apple is moving in for these MacBooks, and I hope they keep it up in the future because the 14-inch MacBook Pro so far, solid thumbs up from me. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a great day.